In this lecture, we're going to see how to create the user in a Linux system by doing different variations of changing information from what the default is supposed to be. So the basic way to add a user is user add, and suppose my user's name is John Doe, J Doe. User's already added, so that's all it takes to create a user. Now there are things you have to do. You cannot be creating a user who'll be working in a production environment and we'll just have a simple user created like that. So then you have to change a password or create a password for this user, JDoe, and the password is created now. Although I didn't pick a very good password, so that's why I'm getting these warnings. That's a bad password, because I picked a very simple one so I can remember it. So once the user is created, it automatically generates an entry in the etc password file, right? So if we were to do a cat of etc password, we can see our new user, which is right at the bottom right here. So by default, his user ID is JDoe. His password is encrypted and is showing as an X there. And then next we have a user ID or UID and a GID. And then we have user info, which is supposed to be right here, which is blank in our case right now. And then we have the home directory /home/JDoe, and at the end we have bin bash, which is his default shell. Suppose I want to create a user, but I want to give him a different user directory. So I'll do a user add /d /data /project. And let's call this user Jacob. So first we have to do a make dir /data make dir project. And now we're going to rerun that command. Okay. So the user got created, but the directory didn't get created because the directory wasn't there. So we had to physically, manually go in there and create the directory. And now when we see the user, say cat etc password, and we just want to grab for our newest user, which is Jacob. It gives you the line only that belongs to Jacob. We don't need to see the whole etc password file because it could be very lengthy, but it gave us what we needed to know about Jacob. So when we create a new user, Linux assigns a user ID to the user on its own. Like in our case, it's 1004. But what if we want to give it a custom user ID? We can do it by doing user add -u. Say we want to do 599. And we want to call our user Mark Smith. Okay, so now if we were to do a cat of etc password and we grep for M Smith, we can see that his user ID is 599. Group ID is something that the system assigned, but his user ID is something that I assigned. Now we're going to do the same thing with a group ID, which so far was assigned by the system. So if we were to do a cat of etc password file, and we grep for Corey. We see that he's been assigned a user ID by the system, but a group ID of what I assigned, 998. Okay. Okay, so in this example, we're gonna add one user to several groups at the same time. So user add -g admins, that's one of the groups, web admin, second group, developers, third group, and let's use our user jsmith to all these groups. So the command we're going to run is user add -g and then all the groups, admin, web admin, developers, and let's create a new user. Let's call him Bob. Okay, now we do a cat etc password, and we grep for Bob. So that shows his password entries, and if we were to do an ID of Bob, it'll show us the groups that he belongs to, the admins, web admin, and developers.